communities, making Kansas City a better place to live, work, and play. This Casey Cares segment is brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. I'm Ruth Baum-Biggis. Being in prison is a tough path, but once a convict is released, reintegration into society can be almost as difficult. Their systematic barriers are in place, preventing those who have served their time for a felony conviction from returning to a normal life. There is hope through programs like the Second Chance Risk Reduction Center, a program of the Kansas City Metropolitan Crime Commission. And here to talk about this amazing program is Brittany Peterson. She's the lead resource specialist with Second Chance. Brittany, welcome to Casey Cares.
Hi, and thank you so much.
Well, I want to share with our audience, we met very serendipitously. I was lucky enough to be invited to the Crime Commission's annual event, which was packed and wildly fun this year because they took a draft theme. But before all that kind of action took place, there were numerous awards, and you were recognized for your work with this program. So congratulations.
Thank you again. Yes.
Well, let's dive right in. What is the Second Chance Risk Reduction Center?
Well, we are a vendor contractor for Missouri State Probation and Parole, but really we're a public safety organization. We specialize in helping individuals as they are coming home from incarceration to transform their lives, have access to community resources, to be gainfully employed, have safe, affordable housing, and put their families back together. We want life to look better outside of incarceration than it ever did before they went in.
I think this is such an interesting concept because those who go to prison, I feel in many ways become a lost population. They're behind bars, they've committed crimes. I don't want to whitewash, why they are where they are, but they're still human beings. And it seems though this program is reinstilling some of that dignity when these people are allowed to come out and be back in the community.
I'm so glad that you recognize that essentially we're just working with humans. What we know is 99% of individuals that are in prison are coming home. And back to the public safety, it's important to realize that if we want to keep our communities safe, if we want to keep Kansas City safe, we have to be creating opportunity for success and successful reintegration back home.
So how did this program come about? You're part of the Crime Commission, but you're separate.
We're a program of the Crime Commission, yes. The Crime Commission is our parent organization. So Second Chance is essentially a spin off of the 2008 legislation that was originally enacted by Bush and then put into action by former President Obama. There was a gaps analysis done between the Crime Commission and UMKC to kind of take the pulse of the community in Kansas City and figure out what is missing for those individuals that are coming home from incarceration. J.E. Dunn is our original funder for the program, and we really give a lot of credence to his support in being able to be so far progressed where we are now. J.E. Dunn famously has built prisons for decades around the country, and he himself thought, what are we doing? Why are we continuing to build prisons? What are we doing for them once they come home? And so in 2010, we started receiving grant funding from the Missouri Department of Corrections in order to wrap services around those individuals that are coming home to Kansas City and make sure that they're more successful.
What an interesting turn. Here's a company that's building these all up, making millions of dollars. So great for them to put it back into when folks are able to come out. So this was legislatively driven. You have outside financial support for it. When did you really start to have boots on the ground and helping individuals one at a time?
In 2012, we opened our Second Chance Risk Reduction Center. And it looks very different in 2022 than what it did in 2012. But That's really when we were able to start working one-on-one in case management to be able to wrap in gainful employment, safe, affordable housing, and full risk reduction. We serve a minimum of 250 individuals a year, but we know that there are so many other lives that we don't get to touch because of capacity and lack of funding. But we are really proud of the work that we do. In the state of Missouri, the average recidivism rate, so return to incarceration, is 44%. In our program, it's actually less than 5% of the clients that we serve that return to prison. We know that that's a huge impact because people stay home, they pay taxes, they don't commit new crimes, they have safe families. And we really are proud of the public safety initiative that we're able to take part in.
That's an amazing statistic.
Yeah.
Great for grant writing. That's for sure. That's for sure. So when did you join the program?
I came on board in 2013 with the Crime Commission. I had previously been doing social work initiatives in Kansas City, but they picked me up, and I can't imagine doing anything else other than this work now. I've really fallen in love with serving the community and servicing those that need the help the most.
So let's really get in and dive deep into the three big areas that you help former convicts, and maybe you don't call them that. Maybe there's a different term, because that's a real negative punch term. You're a former convict.
Yeah. We use formerly incarcerated, we use returning citizens, we use justice involved. Offender and convict is incredibly outdated, and just to point back to our previous conversation, they're humans as well.
So those three areas, let's talk about them and what they involve and how you do that with each individual you help.
So everyone that comes into the program has a different set of needs, right? Individuals that are coming into the program are unemployed or underemployed, and they are always high risk to return to incarceration. So we work one-on-one. Whatever they need, we meet them where they're at. Gainful employment. We're not looking at dead-end jobs, and we don't do what I call face in place. There's a job, go for it. Because we're really trying to wrap around the idea of that gainful employment and taking into consideration retention. We want to support businesses in the community on reducing attrition. And we want to support the financial health of families in the community. So we need a livable wage. We need benefits. We need insurance. We need for families and individuals to feel supported and stable so that they are more successful moving forward, because what we know is the community is more successful moving forward. Now, there's a lot that goes into that because transportation is a barrier, housing is a barrier, mental health and substance abuse, and all kinds of other conditions that are associated with being on felony supervision. So one of the benefits is that because we are a contract vendor with Missouri Probation and Parole, we're able to work alongside in an incredible partnership with that organization and that department in order to support not only our clients, but support probation and parole in being more successful on their end with supervision.
I will ask a very naive question, and forgive me for not knowing this. When someone comes out of prison, have served their time for a felony, there are there requirements of quote checking in, or are you free to go and you're not tied to that level of reporting?
I think it's 72 hours after release from incarceration that you have to report to your probation or parole officer. And then based on their assessment that they do, will define if they're seen every 2 weeks, every 30 days, 60, 90. It doesn't usually go out farther than 90 days, but we're not probation and parole. So our clients interact and see the resource specialists at Second Chance far more frequently than they do the probation and parole officer.
So you've got job readiness training, you've got housing probation and parole needs. What are some of the things there besides, finding somewhere to live? What are the other ways you're able to help in that area of your program?
We do credit building activities because we know that if you've been away from the community for a nominal amount of years, you may come home with zero credit. In this economy, that's better than bad credit. But we work with individuals that have bad credit as well, keeping in mind financial health and moving forward with self-sustainability. Transportation is crazy in Kansas City. We know that the metro system is free since COVID, but navigating the bus system is complicated and it's frustrating. We help wrap other services with our clients depending on their need, because there may be digital literacy, there may be a lack of education or vocational training. And so back to meeting the individual where they're at, we want to make sure that each and every one of those minimum of 250 are successful based on what they need.
How do folks then get to you? Is it an application process? Is it directed through the Department of Corrections? How do they find you?
We do a lot of outreach activities. So we go inside of prisons to talk to individuals prior to their release so that hopefully they come to us quicker. Probation and parole makes referrals all the time. We have an incredible network of community partners that know the work and the integrity of the program, and they make referrals over as well. Honestly, our best advertisement is word of mouth. Someone who is in the program or has been through the program knows someone else that's coming home and struggling, and they send them our way. And I really do believe that is the best word of mouth, because there's so much more integrity in that word than those of us that are on the change community side.
I was going to say, it's not like buying a 30-minute spot or a 30-second spot on a TV show and, attention, newly released. I'm joking on the square, but I would imagine that the conversation is then very important. So they're referred to you, maybe word of mouth or through the system. And then what's next for someone? Do they just call you? Take us through the process a little bit of how they become one of your future success stories.
So what we know is no one changes unless they are invested and want change in their life. All someone has to do is call and do a phone screening. We get calls from individuals all over the metro and even wider than the Kansas City metro area. Even if someone doesn't qualify for our program, we are going to try to connect them with another community partner that is able to serve them, because we don't want anyone falling through the cracks. But those that qualify, they just have to call, do a phone screening. We're going to schedule them for our job club, which is our job readiness. And after that, one of the specialists reaches out and schedules an intake, and then everything is individualized from there.
So how does someone, I'm going to use former convict, you're going to have to keep knocking on my brain not to do that.
Returning citizen.
Returning citizen. How do they qualify? It just can't be anybody who's been incarcerated then.
Correct. So to be eligible for second chance, you have to be on Missouri State felony probation or parole. You have to live in Kansas City, Missouri, Jackson County. We do service some of Clay County, but they do still have to have a Kansas City, Missouri address. Unfortunately, because of grant restrictions, we can't service Gladstone, Liberty, Independence, but we were able to incorporate Raytown and Grandview into that area of Jackson County. They have to be willing and able to be employed. We can't work with individuals that are outside of working age. We can't work with individuals that aren't interested in working. Employment really is our specialty, and that's how we wrap in all of the other risk reduction activities on top of that.
Do you have a counterpart then on the Kansas side or in other parts of the metro?
So we are working on supporting the Lansing Career Campus, which is an incredibly bright idea of putting a college campus on a prison campus. We are working on obtaining funding to be able to wrap our reentry supports into that project. Right now, we don't have funding for it, but there's construction and other programming going on over there. Otherwise, we don't know of another real second chance that's on the Kansas side. We do have some reentry partners that are doing good work. It just looks a little bit different than what we do on the Missouri side.
You mentioned partners, and I think for many nonprofits, that's really key to success. Can you share who some of those partners are, and how did you get to be partners? I think people always kind of go, well, how do I do that?
It is incredibly important to have friends in the community. We understand that we're a small program and we can't do everything, but to be really mighty and make the biggest impact in the community, you have to have those community partners. Connections to Success right down the road does an incredible professional and personal development program. Reconciliation Services helps with a number of emergency needs. The Medicine Cabinet does all kinds of upfront and emergency medical needs. Swope Health Center, Samuel Rogers, even the Full Employment Council, FEC, helps to fund vocational training for a lot of our partners. First Call is an incredible resource for substance misuse disorders and connecting those pieces together. I could go on for probably 5 dozen different partners that we have in the metro area. It's just important to make sure that nonprofits, especially, are working outside of organizational silos.
There are silos out there, but you just named off some great nonprofits. Some have been guests on our show, and some I look to welcome in the future and hear about the great things they're doing. Jumping right back, though, into your program. So somebody enters through the Job Club, which are monthly, weekly?
Every Tuesday.
Wow. And then they get put into the, quote, system?
So we have the phone screening and the Job Club as prerequisites, because what we know is people will sometimes say that they want help and they're unwilling to show up for themselves. So we just ask people to show up and to show us that they are invested in taking those initial steps to transform their lives. After the Job Club, our resource specialists wrap in, and in our case management program, which is really what we do at Second Chance, everything is then individualized. There aren't groups with the specialist necessarily. We're really just looking to find what is in your way, keeping you from being successful, keeping you from going back to incarceration, and then we're going to support from there.
When I looked at your website, which, give us that address so folks can check it out.
You can see us at www.kc-crime.org. And then under the program tab, you can go right to the Second Chance website.
Perfect. So we'll know where to send folks. Nobody is necessarily in the program for a set amount of time, correct?
Grant mandates, because we are a nonprofit. Average participation is 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
Clients do max out at 12 months. But we have really developed what we call a lifer program, where just because the program can't support with direct service dollars, we will continue to be family. We will continue to be that support for individuals. We really do believe that once you've been with Second Chance, you're always with Second Chance.
I love that. Your family. How nice, because when you come out, you do hit those barriers. In your line of work and what you're doing, what is the biggest barrier for your clients? And then I'd like to know, what's the biggest barrier for Second Chance?
So for clients, that answer would change year to year and with different economies. What I would say the biggest barrier is for us right now is fair housing providers. Landlords and property management that are willing to look at an individual transforming their life, because Maslow's hierarchy of needs, housing is a huge priority, right? We need safe and affordable housing. So while we do have an incredible network of providers in the community, we are always in need of more, and in a variety of different neighborhoods. On the client side, or on the program side, I'm sorry, I would say that funding always kind of limits what we're able to do. We want to be able to reach more. We want to be able to expand and grow and do more. There are a lot of projects that we do in the community that aren't funded. So positions are limited and availability in the community is limited. If we were better funded and healthier on our budget, then I really don't see limitations on what we're able to accomplish in the community.
We're talking with Brittany Peterson, and she is the lead resource specialist with the Second Chance Risk Reduction Center. Brittany, funding is an issue. So what's Second Chance doing about it, and how can the community help?
So we are constantly writing grants on the federal side and even partnering with the city of Kansas City in order to better fund. We have an incredible partner with KC Common Good, who is supporting us in trying to access some victim impact dollars in order to rapidly expand our program. We have a great relationship with the Director of Corrections on the Kansas side, Secretary Zamuda, in trying to wrap around support so that we can fund the Lansing Career Campus. We're constantly being creative in how we access funding, but I'm always open to additional suggestions.
So you can go to the website, I bet, and there's somewhere you can click on a donate button. Now, I know you also do some programming that is it available to the public to come and learn? I mean, I know we're winding down the current year, but in the new year, are there those opportunities?
Yeah, so I'm glad that you bring that up. So for individuals that may not qualify for our program, we hold quarterly welcome back sessions, and we have just scheduled all of our 2023 dates, and I'm happy to make that available to you. Welcome back is quite literally welcome home from incarceration. It is an advertisement of working outside of organizational silos where we bring in a different set of community partners to talk about the wonderful work that they're doing in the community to serve the formerly incarcerated and justice involved. We do community education projects such as reentry simulations, which highlight the struggles and the barriers of what it is to come home from incarceration. It is a large scale role play activity where you really build the compassion and the empathy in order to help others in your own capacity as a concerned community member or as a family member affected by the justice system as well. Second Chance also sits on a number of violence reduction committees in Kansas City so that we are working with our community partners to be intentional and preventative of future crimes occurring and really wrapping those supports and highlighting youth activities because we know the youth are our future.
Is there a role to play for the community in terms of a volunteer opportunity? It may not be possible given the population, that you're trying to assist.
I get asked this question all the time. It is tough to schedule volunteer activities inside of the risk reduction because the work is confidential. We want our clients to be comfortable being honest and transparent as we are working towards transformation in their own lives. We could always use help at Crime Commission fundraisers. I always need volunteers from the community to work on reentry simulations. Just in 2022, we did 5 simulations, and I need to put together a team of at least 21 individuals to make that production happen. There's always a way, and I am always willing to be creative in how we address that. Community members can help support our partner organizations on GED and HiSET education and tutoring. There's a way that our community works more collaboratively and more cooperatively than what we have historically.
We've got just a few minutes left, and I would love for you to share a story or two. Of course, not revealing names, I understand that's really stuck with you, somebody that you really have helped and they have moved on with their lives and really were able to re-enter?
Oh, put me on the spot for names. In the last decade, I've worked with about 1,000 people. I will give you a name. Kenya Seals, just opened his first brick and mortar restaurant, Opal and Blues, at 27th and Walren. So I'm going to give free press. He came home from incarceration and he was beaten, depressed, no confidence. His parole officer had referred him to us and said, go get a warehouse job, go get a forklift job. But that's not how we work here. To be able to see the light in someone's eyes when you ask them, what do you want to do? And just said, I want to cook. I said, okay, cool, let's cook. So he's been home for several years and worked in a lot of really astounding restaurants. He's incredibly talented. But right after his 45th birthday this year, he was able to open his own store, his own restaurant. And I highly suggest you try it because it is some of the best food in Kansas City. I struggle on the spot to think of specific stories. I would suggest you go to our Facebook page, Second Chance KC, or to the website, because we highlight a different story every month of someone that has realized that change in their life. We started this Instilling Change project in 2019, kind of as a reaction because the news was just really depressing and all the crime in the community. And while we do want our communities to be accountable, we know that crime exists. The Instilling Change project was really about changing the conversation of what it is to come home from incarceration and all of the tireless work that goes into individuals transforming their life and not going back to prison. So yes, Second Chance KC, follow us, like us, check out the information there. But I highly suggest you read some of those stories.
Well, just Jaw's story is so incredible and so resilient and moving forward and writing his own story and not letting it be defined by the community. And that sounds like that's much of the philosophy behind the work that you do. So we salute your efforts and helping people. And if folks can get out there and support you financially, do it, because then you can help more people. And we're just so grateful for the work that you do. So go to the kc-crime.org, go to programs, click there, and you'll find Second Chance. Brittany, thank you for sharing so much about this amazing program and the incredible work that you and your team do.
We appreciate you so much, Ruth and KC Cares. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share a bit of our story.
Thank you for joining us for KC Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice. We're produced by Charitable Communications. It's also a nonprofit. This KC Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing, Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. If you'd like to be a guest on KC Cares or underwriting opportunities, visit our website. That's kccaresonline.org. Spread the love. You'll find us on Facebook and Twitter at KC Cares Radio and Instagram at KC Cares Online. Don't forget, you can catch us on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. on ESPN 1510 AM, 94.5 FM. Thank you for joining us on KC Cares.